Okay, in this episode, we're going to talk volt or bolt, the basics of home charging. And the reason we call it volt or bolt is because you're either going to have a plug-in hybrid electric, which is a volt, or a pure EV. These are your choices as of 2020 and a half. Okay, plug-in hybrid electric, which is volt, means the propulsion is all electric and it has a battery that can run a car for 20 to 100 miles. It also has a gas engine connected to a generator that provides additional range up to 400 miles more. It can even charge its battery with gasoline. There's lots of these plug-in hybrids from other manufacturers and more on the way. Volt is no longer made, but there's many used ones available and they are great choices. We're talking charging here. And these are things you need to know about these kind of cars. So let's talk about charging pure EVs like the Bolt. They have a very large battery that can provide like 40 to 100 kilowatts of power for up to 300 miles of range. It can charge level 1, 2, or stage 3 fast charge in public. Also lots of pure EVs by others, but the Bolt is still sold and it is a very good choice for an all-EV car. Okay, with either the Bolt or the Volt, you were provided with a standard equipment charger. All of them are stage 1 J1772 connector, 120 volts AC, usually 8 to 12 amps, rated at 15 amps or 1300 watts. They charge up your battery from 4 to 10 miles per hour. You can use them just about anywhere. It's a good idea to set them up in your garage closest to the point at which you're going to plug them into the car with. Good idea to set up a special 20 amp dedicated outlet just for the charger alone. Also a good idea to have some kind of a cord reel to loop it up so you're not tripping over the cord. And it's a good idea to avoid extension cords. We are suggesting a serious connection, a 20 amp socket with a 20 amp circuit. A special color also helps designate that this is something special in your garage for charging your car. And the car is going to agree with our plan for this special adapter because it's going to ask you whether or not you want to go with a maximum 12 amps or a minimum 8 amps. Because the car can do damage to your electrical system. And of course, you should just consult your owner's manual for more information on this. You can avoid all this stress by just installing a stage 2 charger. Now, they cost between $200 and $800, so they're expensive. And you can use them on a dryer outlet, especially if they're only 16 amps. 32 amp varieties will work on a standard range outlet that has a 50 amp breaker capacity. Our best suggestion is to get a qualified, professional, experienced electrician do the installation. And you're going to have to spend between $1,000 and $2,000. So let's talk about the reason for you wanting to have to put in a stage 2 charger. Most of the time, you're just going to be using your stage 1 120 volt one. And it's preferred because a stage 2 will charge a volt in like 1 to 4 hours. How many times do you need to have your volt charged in 1 to 4 hours? And it'll charge a Bolt in 1 to 10 hours at 24 miles per hour. What it really boils down to is how many miles do you normally drive during an every day-to-day commute? Because it is believed at this point in time that fast charging can reduce battery lifetime. So slow charging is way better for your battery. Okay, so let's say you do choose to get a stage 2 and a stage 1 charger. This is a good layout for that application. Notice the 120 outlet mounted very high so that the stage 1 can lay flat, and both have their own cord reel. And it's a good idea to have the breaker box for your outlets close at hand so that you can monitor the breakers and turn off the stage 2 charger when it's not in use. And if you check in our description, we might have some links to some components that you might need for your ideal charge station configurations. Okay, now we're coming to DC fast charging, only available with a Bolt or a pure EV. It works completely different than an AC charger, and it requires 3-phase 440 volt hookups, so it's very expensive. You're probably only going to use this when you're going to take a long trip, and it costs money. Sometimes big money, sometimes even more than what you would pay for gas. And you have to have a special card or subscription to the chargers that are in your area or on your route. Okay, and Tesla has really nailed this with what they call supercharging. They introduced it. And they have the biggest network across the nation and globally. Superchargers can do 125 kilowatts. Your Bolt charger can only do 40 or 50. In Europe, the Model 3 can charge at any supercharger without adapters, and it charges at a rate of about 1,000 miles an hour, as compared to your standard Bolt fast DC charger that can maybe do 100 or 200 miles an hour. It's a significant difference. And of course, it's a significant advantage, but it works well with our little Bolts. Okay, now we're going to get to the big one. This is the super duper fast charging. And some cars have the ability to charge faster than any Tesla. Although few have achieved their claims, there are chargers out there that can provide 350 kilowatts. That's really fast. It's especially important to super duper cars like the Porsche Taycan Turbo, an Audi, and a Jaguar that can also charge at this very, very fast rate. Another unique and important charge system is called Bi-Directional Charging. All Nissan Leafs have always had this capability. But you need a box that allows you to use your car to store electricity to be used by your home. Used it to store off-peak kilowatt hours to sell back or use on peak. It would make you money or help you pay for your system. Tesla recently announced their capabilities have been added to this system too. 20.5, big deal. Okay, so anyway, next big thing on the horizon is DC home fast charging. Perhaps it's now possible, especially if you have a solar system. This would be an easy configuration for our cyber garage, but the minimum battery size must be about 40 kilowatts. A second generation Leaf would be a perfect choice for this situation. You could build your own charge station garage for your EV. It would be completely anonymous or grid tie, but would provide significant free and green power with a 5 to 15 watt solar electric array on the roof. Garage build would qualify for tax credits, and you can sell or use the power to eventually pay for much of the cost of the build of your brand new cyber garage. The least expensive option would be just to use a stage 1 charger and grid tie. Configure it as best you can for power. You could also install a stage 2 charger very easily. And of course, DC fast charging and bi-directional charging are new options. But it gets expensive with additional battery capacity. You could also configure your garage with geothermal heat and cool. It's all up to you. We suggest you start planning now because tax credits are expiring. Okay, one last thing. It's on public charging etiquette. Bolts or pure EV owners think they have first right to public chargers because they have no choice. If you are a PEV or a Volt owner, it is wise to move your car as soon as you are fully charged. EVs should move when full too. Okay, that's about all for now. We'll talk more about this in future videos, so please subscribe and see more information at our website.